It's Tuesday, November 24th, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Former employees of the Barbados Agricultural Development Corporation are now pleading with authorities to hand over thousands of dollars owed under a non-contributory pension plan, which has not been paid despite a directive from the High Court. Approximately 24 workers, some of whom are well over the age of 70, are now seeking an enforcement order from the court in an attempt to secure their entitlements. Back in 1994, the BADC was merged with the Barbados Marketing Corporation into the entity known today as the Barbados Agricultural Development and Marketing Corporation. When contacted, the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security Indawe said he was not aware of the court matter that originated in 2016. Repeated efforts to reach recently appointed CEO of the BADMC, Dr. Brian Francis, were unsuccessful. However, Kimberly Allen Pinder, who is one of the 4 attorneys representing some of the aggrieved employees, confirmed that an enforcement order was being pursued to have the matter expedited. Chairman of the Employment Rights Tribunal, Queen's Counsel Frank Blackman, expresses concern over a lack of resources to expedite and adjudicate more cases. Speaking to reporters at the end of an unfair dismissal hearing at the Warrants Office complex yesterday, he said the tribunal was hamstrung by inadequate staffing, among other things. Emmanuel Joseph was there and filed this report.
Justice Blackman said there are mere 4 people now on staff to service 3 tribunal panels that meet separately, and worse yet, if the tribunal had to hear any matter involving the disabled community, none of the current commissioners, including himself, are in a position to provide the appropriate direction and guidance. In addition to that, he said discrimination legislation just came into being last month. The tribunal head pointed out that this discrimination law has serious implications, explaining that the ERT currently has no means of enforcing it. He expressed concern that while the commissioners have the authority to impose fines and lock up people under the new law, they have no staff to do these things. In referring to what he suggested is another weakness in the discrimination legislation, the retired High Court judge said it lacks provision for anyone from the disabled community to be placed on the tribunal so they can bring their perspective on unfair dismissal cases in which members are involved. Meanwhile, despite the staffing limitations, the tribunal chair revealed that the body, as currently constituted under him, has been able to conclude many cases, including the settlement of unfair dismissal disputes at case management level. Although he did not have the statistics to hand, Justice Blackman reported that the tribunal has made a dent in the backlog of cases, but could conclude even more and at a faster pace with the right kind of human and physical resources. Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
Vice-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir Hilary Beckles, has described climate change as the biggest challenge to the region, and he has issued a call for increased education and funding, especially in the wake of the impact of climate change, COVID-19 and chronic diseases. He made the comments at yesterday's launch of the State of the Caribbean Climate Change Report, Information for Resilience Building.
The university, therefore, is calling on development partners to increase their investment in higher education and research as we intensify our collective efforts at applying research and innovation to provide solutions to pressing development concerns facing the Caribbean, such as climate change, COVID-19, and chronic diseases, because they are all interlocked, they are all interrelated. One can very well call them the cocktail of the triple C: the climate change, the COVID-19, the chronic diseases, constituting a cascading of challenges facing our region, pushing through the narrative of the existential threat. I can think of no better argument as to why our multilateral partners should not be investing even much more than they have been in the past, especially in this context, in these areas of climate change and how climate change is related to chronic diseases and, of course, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Businessman and real estate developer Sir Paul Altman has resigned as a member of the board of directors of the Insurance Corporation of Barbados. In the most recent file and public notice, ICBL, which was sold to Canadian investors, Paynes Bay Finance Inc., announced that Sir Paul's resignation took effect from November 20th. The notice, which was signed by the executive chief officer, did not indicate if there was a replacement. The development comes as the former state-owned entity disclosed that it would not be paying an interim dividend to shareholders for the financial year ending December 31st, 2020. Sir Paul's resignation is the fourth since the deal between ICBL's former owner, BF&M out of Bermuda, and Paynes Bay Finance was announced earlier this year.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from our regional neighbors now, the newly elected Belize Prime Minister John Briceño has tested positive for COVID-19. A statement from his office on Monday said the Prime Minister, who was recently swabbed for the virus, will remain in isolation for the next 2 weeks, after which he will be retested. Following the news of the Prime Minister's diagnosis, the public was urged to continue wearing masks, practice social distancing, and to follow the guidelines of the Ministry of Health. And finally, on the international front, the General Services Administration tells U.S. President-elect Joe Biden they're ready to start the formal transition process. The development came as Biden's victory in the state of Michigan was officially certified. More in this report from CBS News.
But the president is not conceding. He's still vowing to fight the election results. Tonight, President Trump says he is recommending the head of the General Services Administration do what needs to be done to begin the transition. But GSA head Emily Murphy says she came to the decision independently, based on the law and facts, and was not pressured by the White House.
Madam Chair, you have 3 aye votes.
This comes after Michigan officially certified its election results today, making Joe Biden the winner of the state's 16 electoral votes.
We have a duty to certify this election based on the return.
The Trump campaign is still fighting in Pennsylvania, despite a federal judge dismissing its lawsuit this weekend. In a scathing opinion writing, this claim, like Frankenstein's monster, has been haphazardly stitched together.
Now we're beginning to look like we're a banana republic. It's time for them to stop the nonsense.
Republican resistance to the president's fruitless legal battle is growing.
No one has come up with any evidence of fraud or abuse.
Today, 4 Republican senators expressed their impatience with the president's continued fight. And with even Republican allies slamming the president's legal team.
The president's legal team has been a national embarrassment.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.